Chapter 1 of History of Japan in Words of One Syllable. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Read by Mark Dykeshorn in November 2022. History of Japan in Words of One Syllable by Helen Ainslie Smith. Chapter 1. The First Races in Japan. The strong sea winds and the swift sea waves that still bear boats and men out of their course to the shores of the Japan Isles were the means, it is thought, by which men were first brought there from the old realms or tribes of the main land. It is said that the swift black stream, which flows from far out in the Pacific up to the Sea of Japan, as well as the great storms that vex the coast of Asia, have long brought boatloads of folks from the south and west to the shores of Kyushu, Shikoku, Hondo, and the rest of the isles that now form the south end of the realm of Japan. This land, you know, is made up of 4 large isles and a great host of small ones that lie off the east coast of Asia, with the Sea of Japan between, and forms a great bow-like chain that rounds out in the Pacific. China and Korea lie west of its south half, while off Yezo and the north part of Nippon, the isle, the Russian land swells out till the sea is but a strait, and the hills and ports of the Tsar get a much more close view of the Mikado's realm than China has. It was to the South Isles that the high seas and great winds drove the boatmen of the south, but in the Northlands there were bands of wild men who came down of their own will to Yezo and the isles nearby. Some of these were from the east shores of Asia, and some of them may have gone from a long way inland, where tales had spread to them of a land more fair to live in than their own, and of much good fish to be caught in the seas of these strange lands. It is known for a fact that these Aininu men dwelt in Yezo, and it is the sons of their race who still live there. Those who first made their homes in Shikoku and Kyushu were not from one race, as the men of Yezo, but came from many parts of the south of Asia, and formed what we call a mixed race. Some time after these men had found their way to Japan, but far back in the past, when that great man of the Bible, Nebuchadnezzar, was on the throne of Babylon, there came to the isles a great chief who first fought the tribes of wild men of Kyushu and Shikoku, who dwelt in small towns, each in the rule of a head man. When he had made them own him for their chief, he went on to Yezo, and there had more hard fight to set his sway on the race from the north. But he won at last, though for a long time there was but one way by which they could be kept in check. This was by the force of the new chief's vast troops. The strife, which first rose more than 2,000 years ago, was kept up for scores and scores of years. But the race of the new chief put down their foes in the end, and then all the races on the isles grew to be one, and that was the Japanese. This realm, which grew in time to be large and great, was first set up by Gimo Tenno 660 years ere Christ was born, and as it still stands, it is now near 2,250 years old, and Mutsuhito, the Mikado or great chief, who now sits on its throne, is the 123rd emperor of his race. Though there are tales of what took place ere Gimu came and set up his realm in the midst of the first men, naught at all is known for fact ere the year 660 B.C., and much that is said of Gimu and some of the sons of his race, who came in his line for a long time, is naught but tales, and though these form a part of the story of the growth of the realm, all folks on our side of the globe at least know that they must not be read for truth. The Japanese think that heaven and earth were once all one, and that the sun and moon were goddesses that were born to a life that has no end, at the time when the earth and heaven first grew to be in 2 parts, And they think, too, that there were more gods and goddesses born at this time, and that Gimu was one of them, and that he came, in the year 660, from the great and holy mount of Kirishima, which is on the way from Hyuga to Ozumi. All the Japanese small folks are taught to look with awe on that fair height, which lifts its head far above the clouds, and to think of that time when the god Gimu came down to it out of the blue sky of heaven, that seems so near its peak, and set up on earth the realm of the Mikado, and gave Japan a line of emperors that still sit on its throne. That is why all the Japanese think their emperor and all his race are born gods, and can do no wrong, and that their souls go back to dwell in the sky when they die. The tale is that when Gimu had made himself lord of the whole land, his next step was to set up his chief town, and for that he chose the site of Kashiwabara, which is some miles from where the town of Kyoto now stands. Here he set up a sort of court, gave states or parts of the realm to the charge of his chief men-at-arms, made gifts to his troops in pay for their good work with the foe, and set out at once to give peace and good rule to his new realm. It was his wish to bring all the folks of the land to feel that they were all a part of one great state, and to put off warlike ways, and to learn the arts of peace. He took a wife, the Princess Tatara, and set the type of a good home life. His rule was long and wise. When he was near 130 years old, he died and left 3 sons. We cannot be at all sure that this man dwelt on earth, but the Japanese have been taught to think that he was a real man. They think he is now a god, whom it is part of their faith to love and bow down to. The emperor now on the throne speaks of him as his sire, and claims that he is come from Gimu, and is his son through a long line in which there has been no break. The first year of Japanese history is set down as that on which he took the throne at Kashiwabara, and the day is kept, like our own 4th of July, each year on the 7th day of the 4th month, or, as we would say, on the 7th of April. End of Chapter 1.